Do not make another major decision from the same mental state that carried you through survival. Sit down for a moment. What is approaching your life may be good, but it is too important to meet with a divided mind. Chosen one, this is not a warning against you. It is a warning for you. You have felt the pressure building. You may be waking at unusual hours. Ordinary conversations may suddenly feel too small. And while one part of you senses that something is changing, another part feels too tired to decide what should happen next. That contradiction is why you are here. Your spirit may already recognize the season. Your mind may not yet be ready to receive it without distortion. Before this message ends, you will understand why the waiting became intense. You will recognize what makes sincere people miss opportunities they prayed for. You will also see one practical way to support the clarity needed to notice, choose, and carry what is coming. A massive change does not always arrive with thunder. It may arrive as a phone call you nearly ignore. It may appear as a conversation you almost postpone. It may enter as a quiet idea that seems too simple to matter. Or it may look like a safe relationship that feels unfamiliar because it does not repeat the pain you learned to expect. So hear this first truth carefully. The fog is not always proof that you are lazy. It is not proof that you are spiritually disconnected. It is not proof that your gift has disappeared. Sometimes the signal is still present, but the receiver has been carrying too much for too long. Years of responsibility can divide your attention. Disappointment can train you to expect danger. Constant mental switching can separate what you know from what you can calmly evaluate and act upon. You still receive flashes of insight, but they disappear before becoming decisions. You still sense direction, but noise enters before movement begins. This condition has a name. It is the receiver gap. It is the distance between what your spirit has recognized and what your present mental state can hold. Until that gap begins to close, even a good opportunity can feel confusing. Even a clear instruction can feel uncertain. Even a peaceful door can look dangerous. But the gap is not your permanent identity. When it begins to close, the same life looks different. The message becomes clearer. The next step becomes visible. Fear may still speak, but it no longer controls the meaning of everything you see. This is why the delay was not empty. God was not only preparing what you asked for, He was preparing your capacity to recognize it. Write this declaration in the comments. My mind is becoming ready for what God has prepared. Do not write it as superstition. Write it as an agreement that confusion will not define you forever. Because what comes next explains why the version of you who first prayed for the blessing could not yet carry its full weight. And once you see that, you will never interpret this waiting season in the same way again. You may have noticed that your old life no longer fits. The routines still exist. The rooms look familiar. The same people may still call your name. But something inside you has stopped agreeing with the version of life that once felt normal. You are standing between two versions of yourself. One version knows how to survive. It stays useful. It remains quiet. It carries everyone else. The other version is beginning to wake, and it can no longer pretend that constant sacrifice is the same as faithful living. This middle space can feel deeply uncomfortable. You are no longer fully connected to the old season, but the new one has not become visible yet. Things that once distracted you feel empty. Conversations that once entertained you now drain you. Places that once felt safe may suddenly feel too small. That does not always mean you are becoming difficult. It may mean your tolerance for what keeps you small is disappearing. It does not mean you are losing direction. The old compass may not guide the person you are becoming, and you are not moving backward simply because the road ahead is unclear. If you have recently felt exhausted and strangely expectant at the same time, this part is for you. Your body may be tired, but something within you refuses to believe this is the final shape of your life. You feel one chapter ending before you can read the next. There is grief in that space. You may miss people you can no longer follow. You may question choices that once seemed certain. You may feel guilty because the life you prayed for no longer satisfies you. But growth often changes what your spirit can tolerate before it changes what your eyes can see. You are not necessarily being abandoned. You may be being separated from what no longer belongs in the next season. You are not without direction. You may be learning to stop using fear as your map. You are not too late. A new capacity may be forming beneath the silence. Hear this gently. My child, I did not bring you this far to return you to the room you outgrew. Imagine waking one morning without negotiating with yourself about every small decision. Your mind feels quieter. Your chest feels lighter. You know what deserves your attention first, and you move without asking 10 frightened questions. Nothing outside is perfect, but something inside has become steady. That steadiness matters. A large opportunity can enter a life and still be lost through confusion. A healthy relationship can appear and still be rejected through old fear. A clear idea can arrive and still disappear beneath noise. This is why preparation must reach deeper than excitement. The old season taught you endurance. This space is teaching you discernment. It is showing you what drains you, what controls you, and what you can no longer carry. Yet, separation alone does not create readiness. It only reveals what must be rebuilt next. For a long time, you may have treated delay as a verdict. You hoped, you saw no evidence, you doubted, then you pushed harder and prayed longer. When nothing changed quickly, exhaustion returned, and you wondered whether you had misunderstood God. That cycle has a hidden rule. If this were truly meant for me, it would have happened already. The rule sounds reasonable. It also creates pain. It teaches you to measure every promise by speed, and it makes silence feel like rejection before preparation can be seen. When you believe that rule, waiting becomes dangerous. You may accept a smaller door because you fear the larger one will never open. You may rush to escape uncertainty. You may call preparation a punishment and abandon a process forming what your next season requires. Delay does not prove that every hope will happen, but delay does not prove that the promise has been cancelled. Sometimes, time is exposing what cannot enter the next chapter. It is teaching you to hold peace without demanding proof. This is the capacity before the blessing. God may prepare the receiver before expanding responsibility. He may teach you to protect your energy before increasing influence. He may build steadiness before placing something valuable in your hands. The person who first asked for the blessing may have been sincere, but sincerity alone does not create readiness. That earlier version may have abandoned personal needs to keep peace. You may have confused urgency with guidance. You may have shared every idea before it had time to grow. The waiting exposed those patterns. It showed where approval controlled your choices. It revealed how quickly fear could create imagined disasters. It taught you that receiving something good is not enough. You must also know how to protect it, develop it, and remain grounded when attention arrives. So stop asking only when it will come. Ask a better question. Who must I become when it arrives? Picture the difference. An opportunity reaches you, and you do not panic. You do not tell everyone before understanding it. You do not reject it because it stretches your identity. You become still. You examine what is true. You seek wisdom, and then you take the next clear step. That is mature readiness. You are no longer forcing a door through fear, and you are no longer running because growth is required. You can feel excitement without surrendering discernment. Write this declaration in the comments. I am becoming able to carry it. Let those words create a new question. Not when will my life change, but how am I preparing to meet that change with wisdom, clarity, and peace? Character capacity is one half of readiness. There is another half. A strong heart can still struggle inside an overloaded mind. A faithful person can still miss details when attention is divided. The next part lives inside the way your receiver is operating now. The blessing may be closer than you think, but recognizing it requires more than hope. It requires a mind that can notice the signal, evaluate it calmly, and act before the old cycle takes control again. You have now seen why delay can be preparation. But character is only one part of readiness. The other part is the condition of the receiver that must recognize what is being offered. The receiver gap appears when your spirit senses direction, but your mind cannot hold the signal long enough to act. You know something matters. You feel the pull. Yet the moment you try to decide, noise enters and certainty fades. You may walk into a room and forget why you went there. You may read the same paragraph several times. You may know who you need to call, but keep postponing it. A strong idea may come, but you cannot organize it into a simple plan. Prayer can also feel different in this state. You still believe, you still reach for God, but your thoughts scatter before your heart becomes still, and the silence feels like distance, even when your desire for connection remains real. These experiences can have many causes, and they are not a medical diagnosis, but they should not automatically be treated as a character failure. A tired receiver does not mean the signal is gone. It may mean your system has carried too much for too long. Stress changes what attention notices. Disappointment teaches the mind to scan for danger. Constant switching weakens your ability to remain with one thought. Over time, logic and intuition may stop working together, and every important choice begins to feel heavier than it should. This creates a painful contrast. A weak character says, "I do not care." An overloaded receiver says, "I care deeply, but I cannot find a stable place inside myself from which to respond." That difference matters. It replaces shame with understanding. It also reveals why forcing yourself has failed. You cannot insult the mind into becoming clear. You cannot punish the nervous system into becoming peaceful. If you still experience flashes of brilliance, but cannot hold them long enough to act, you are not empty. The connection is inconsistent. The gift is not necessarily gone. The pathway may simply need support. Notice how often the insight appears when you are relaxed. It may come in the shower. It may arrive during a walk. It may surface just before sleep. Then pressure returns, and the idea disappears before it becomes action. This is the receiver gap in daily life. What you know and what you can use are separated. What you sense and what you can explain are divided. What you desire and what you can organize no longer move together. But this gap is not fixed. The mind can be supported. Attention can become steadier. Logic and intuition can begin to cooperate again. And when that happens, the next faithful step becomes easier to recognize. If naming the receiver gap has helped you stop blaming yourself, mark this message so you can return to it. The most surprising clue comes from what happened to your mind before adulthood. Long before pressure divided your attention, your mind worked differently. As a child, curiosity did not need permission. You could follow an idea because wonder was stronger than fear. Imagination felt natural. You could see possibilities before anyone judged them. Logic and creativity were not enemies. Intuition did not have to defend itself against old disappointment. Then life trained you for survival. School rewarded the correct answer. Responsibility rewarded speed. Stress rewarded danger detection. Pain taught you to lower expectations before reality could disappoint you again. Those lessons did not make you weak. Many helped you function. But over time, functioning replaced integration. One part handled duty, while another held dreams that rarely became plans. You became efficient, yet divided. Logic questioned every intuitive signal. Creativity appeared, then vanished beneath practical demands. Faith offered direction, but exhaustion interrupted the action needed to follow it. This is not an invitation to become childish. It is an invitation to recover wholeness. Do not abandon reason. You need reason and intuition to work together again. You need structure that protects creativity. You need faith that becomes action. You need ideas that become decisions. This integrated state is the whole mind threshold. At that threshold, you do not lose caution. You gain perspective. You can examine facts without silencing inner recognition. You can feel excitement without losing judgment. You can act with courage and remain grounded. Imagine sitting before an important decision. The facts are clear. Your body is calm. Your intuition offers a quiet signal, and your reasoning tests it without attacking it. You choose, then move forward without reopening the question 20 times. That is not reckless confidence. It is cooperation inside the mind. Different abilities support one another instead of competing for control. Many people try to reach this state by thinking harder, but greater pressure often deepens the division. The exhausted side weakens, and intuition retreats further into silence. The answer may require different support. Later, you will see why a neurological discovery from 1981 may help explain how some people begin recovering an integrated state without forcing themselves to think harder. It does not prove a spiritual claim or promise a miracle, but it offers a practical clue about why the mind can feel fragmented and why certain stimulation may support cooperation between different functions. Before we reach that science, one belief must be removed. You were taught that more effort is always the answer. For an overloaded receiver, that lesson can become another form of pressure. The next revelation will show why trying harder has not closed the gap, and why clarity may begin when you stop treating your exhausted mind like an enemy. Everything you have heard so far explains only half of the problem. The greatest obstacle is not simply that your mind became tired. It is that you were taught to answer tiredness by demanding even more from it. So you pushed harder. You repeated positive thoughts with greater intensity. You added longer meditation sessions. You prayed while exhausted, then blamed yourself when peace did not arrive on command. You may have tried brainwave audio. Some tracks created temporary relaxation, but when the sound ended, the same decision remained, and the same confusion often returned. None of those practices are worthless. Prayer can steady the heart. Meditation can create space. Positive thought can interrupt a destructive pattern. Sound can help the body settle. But motivation is not integration. Relaxation is not automatically clear judgment. A powerful feeling during a session does not guarantee that logic, intuition, attention, and action will keep working together afterward. More effort has not always created more clarity. You were forcing a divided system to perform better without first supporting the cooperation it needed. Hear this without shame. You do not need to punish an exhausted mind into becoming clear. You do not need to prove faith by ignoring what your body and attention communicate. If you have tried many methods, your skepticism is not a defect. It may mean you need a different mechanism, not a louder promise. You may ask how something works and examine it. Write this declaration in the comments. I release the need to force clarity. That sentence does not mean you become passive. It means you stop confusing pressure with progress. You create conditions where the mind can cooperate, then use the clarity that follows to make responsible choices. Remember the neurological discovery from 1981. We are approaching it now. Its value is not that it makes decisions for you. It helps explain why the mind can process reality in different ways. This matters because two people can hear the same guidance. They can receive the same opportunity. They can stand before the same open door. Yet one recognizes its meaning, while the other sees only risk and walks away. A promise is not enough if it cannot be recognized. Recognition is not enough if a decision cannot be made. A decision is not enough if the mind returns to division and cancels the action. The problem is visible. The receiver is overloaded. Its abilities are not cooperating consistently. More pressure deepens the split, while temporary relief may not create lasting integration. A solution only becomes useful after the problem can be seen. You see it now. The next part will reveal the scientific bridge, real experiences, and the method designed around that mechanism. There is a question we left open earlier. What happened to the natural cooperation your mind once had, and can that cooperation be supported again? The answer begins with research that received the Nobel Prize in 1981. It did not come from a church or a manifestation seminar. It came from neurological research. Dr. Roger Sperry became known for his work on the divided brain. His research helped show that the two hemispheres process information in different ways, while still being designed to communicate and cooperate. This does not prove a spiritual claim. It does help explain why human thought can feel more complete when different mental functions work together. Modern life can pull those abilities apart. Stress divides attention and keeps the mind scanning for danger. The result can feel like lost intelligence, even when your underlying ability remains. A nurse from California described living in that state. She felt that life was happening to her. She had prayed, meditated, and tried other approaches, but daily connection still felt absent. After about 10 days with a particular method, she said it felt as though a blocked channel had opened. She also described less tension and greater presence in her marriage. That was her experience, not a guaranteed result. It matters because her story reflects the receiver problem we have been discussing, where inner awareness exists but cannot consistently become calm, attention, and action. A business owner from Texas described something similar. He had 2 children and carried responsibility for everyone around him. Brain fog had become so familiar that he barely recognized it as fog. Prayer felt like speaking toward a wall, and important decisions demanded more energy than they once had. After about 2 weeks, he described his mind as working with fuller capacity again. He reported stronger focus and easier decisions. Again, that is one-person account. It does not promise an identical result for you. It points toward the mechanism developed by the team led by Dr. Daniel Barone. Dr. Daniel Barone is a neurologist in New York City. His team developed and refined an 8-minute targeted auditory sequence designed around what they call neural sync technology. The goal is to support cooperation between the left and right hemispheres, a state described as whole brain activation. The program is called the Genius Switch. It is a digital audio track. You use headphones, close your eyes, relax, and listen for 8 minutes each day. It does not require a complicated exercise. It is not presented as a replacement for prayer, medical care, sleep, healthy habits, or responsible action. The positioning is also important. This is not a standard brainwave track, and it is not simply an audio made to change your mood for a few minutes. The method is described as a layered auditory sequence designed to support hemisphere synchronization. That distinction matters if you have tried online soundtracks without results. Your skepticism is reasonable. Examine the mechanism and terms before deciding. The Genius Switch is not for everyone. It is for the person who believes clarity deserves practical support. It is for the person who has carried responsibility for years, but no longer wants to call brain fog a character defect. It is for someone willing to give 8 quiet minutes each day to the receiver, while understanding that no tool makes choices for them. Comparable options can cost hundreds per session or thousands for home equipment. Colleagues once suggested a value of $500 for this program. The listed price is $49. The current offer, described on the official page, is $39. Pricing can change, so the official page remains the source of truth when you review it. The offer includes 4 digital bonuses. They are a guided visualization for money, love, health, and happiness, a smart grocery guide, a classic manifestation book, and a printable 5 habits infographic. There is also a full money-back guarantee. The product information says the guarantee remains available even if you have listened more than once. Access is lifetime, delivery is digital by email, and there is no shipping fee. The sales material reports more than 18,000 users. That number does not guarantee your outcome. There is one important warning. The official product is distributed only through its official website. It is not officially sold through Amazon, YouTube, or Spotify. Tracks with similar names may not contain the same sequence or technology. The official page is linked in the description and pinned comment. Read the details before deciding. Do not buy because you feel pressured. A good opportunity can still be missed when the receiver is overloaded. That is the honest urgency here. The tool does not replace God. It does not pray for you. It does not obey for you. It does not make a difficult choice on your behalf. It may support clarity, but the responsibility to act still belongs to you. And that brings us to the next question. If your mind becomes clearer, what must you release so the old identity does not take control again? Clarity sounds valuable, but resistance often appears when a decision becomes real. You may think $39 is still real money. That is true. Your circumstances matter, and no responsible message should pretend otherwise. Do not use money needed for food, housing, medicine, or essential bills. The comparison with expensive options only provides context. It does not erase your budget. The guarantee reduces risk, but it does not remove the need for wise judgment. You may also think this sounds too good to be true. That concern is fair. The research of Sperry supports the understanding that the hemispheres process information differently. It does not automatically prove that every commercial product will produce the same result for every person. The honest approach is simple. Examine what is offered. Understand the mechanism being claimed. Read the guarantee terms. Then decide whether an 8-minute daily audio practice is something you want to evaluate for yourself. Another resistance says, there is no time. Yet the protocol takes 8 minutes. It can fit before the day begins or during a quiet moment when you are safely seated. Do not listen while driving or doing anything that requires full attention. The deeper issue may not be time. It may be permission. You have given hours to responsibilities and emergencies, but 8 quiet minutes for your own clarity can still feel selfish. Then another voice may say you are too old, too tired, or too far gone. No responsible person should promise to reverse aging, but clarity does not belong only to the young, and exhaustion does not remove your right to seek gentle support. For some people, the next right step may be exploring this resource. For others, it may be rest, medical support, better sleep, or changing an overloaded routine. The important shift is to stop treating fog as a moral failure. Write this declaration in the comments. I choose clarity without self-punishment. That declaration protects your dignity. It reminds you that support is not weakness. It also keeps the product in its proper place. A tool can support a condition, but it cannot replace your responsibility. If this resource is the step you have chosen to explore, open the official page before leaving this message. Read while the reason still feels clear. Do not rush, but do not let automatic distraction make the decision for you. Clarity is not the final destination. It is the moment responsibility begins. Once you can see the next step, you must decide whether you will take it. Imagine waking tomorrow and not reaching for your phone immediately. Your mind is quieter. You know what deserves attention first, and you begin before doubt creates 10 reasons to delay. The outside world is not perfect. Your responsibilities still exist, but something inside feels steady enough to choose one direction and remain with it. Then an email arrives. It contains an opportunity you might once have dismissed. This time, you read carefully. You ask useful questions. You notice both the promise and the risk, and you respond from clarity instead of panic. A conversation follows. Someone you love says something difficult. You do not prepare your defense while they speak. You hear the need beneath the words. and your response creates connection instead of another wound. Later, an old idea returns. It once visited you many times, but fog always carried it away. Now you write it down. You divide it into small steps. You complete the first one before fear can rebuild the old prison. This is the larger vision. What is massive may not be only money, love, or a dramatic opportunity. It may be the return of your ability to see what survival mode trained you to overlook. The resource from the team led by Dr. Barone remains in the description and pinned comment for those who want to examine it. The path is optional. Caring for the receiver is not. You may choose that tool. You may choose another form of support. But you can no longer call confusion your identity after recognizing the conditions that helped create it. Think of one person who always cares for everyone else. They may have said recently that they no longer feel like themselves. They still believe, but their mind is tired. Send this message to that person. Do not send it as pressure. Send it as permission to stop blaming themselves for carrying too much. We are approaching the final declaration. One sentence will close the receiver gap at the level of identity. Do not leave before you speak it. The calm of these final moments is not the end, it is preparation. You have named the gap. You have seen the mechanism. You have considered support. Now you must decide who will answer when the next door opens. Will the exhausted survivor answer? Will fear answer? Will the version trained by disappointment speak first? Or will the clear, grounded, and faithful person you are becoming step forward? Stay for the prayer and declaration. The most important decision is not whether you feel inspired right now. It is whether you will stop allowing the old identity to interpret every new opportunity for you. You have reached the final moment of this message. Take one slow breath. Let the noise settle. You do not need every answer tonight. You only need enough clarity to recognize the next faithful step. The delay was not always rejection. The fog was not proof of failure. Your tired mind was not evidence that God had abandoned you. It may have been a signal that the receiver needed care, rest, truth, and support. No tool replaces God. No audio can obey for you. No method can choose courage on your behalf. Clarity helps you see, but action is where faith becomes visible. Hear this now. My child, I am not asking you to predict the entire road. I am asking you to become present enough to recognize the next faithful step. God, thank you for the person listening now. Thank you for carrying them through the season they thought would break them. Thank you for every unseen lesson and every protected door. Release them from shame about their tired mind. Release them from the pressure to know everything. Release them from the fear of missing what belongs to them. Bring peace into their body. Bring steadiness into their thoughts. Bring wisdom into their decisions. Give them courage to respond at the right time and humility to seek help when support is needed. Let them recognize the people, opportunities, and responsibilities that fit the next season. Protect them from false urgency. Teach them to move with faith and discernment. Now, speak these words slowly. I am not forgotten. I am not permanently confused. I release the identity of the exhausted survivor. I welcome clarity without fear. I will recognize the next faithful step. My mind is becoming ready for what God has prepared. And now speak the final declaration. What is coming does not need the frightened version of me. It will meet the clear, grounded, and faithful person I am becoming. This is what sit down truly meant. It was not a command to fear disaster. It was an invitation to stop running in survival mode. It was permission to see what has changed, to honor what is healing, and to prepare your mind for what comes next. Remain connected to messages that help you approach the next season with faith and clarity. Chosen one. The massive change may begin quietly. When the moment arrives, do not ask whether the old version of you could carry it. That version is no longer the one answering the door.